Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It is Coach Fury here, and we are back today with a double bill, a special episode of the Michigan Let's Play series of Draft Day Sports College Basketball 21 in the online human league of CBGM. And well, it's a special today because we've got to the final of the invitational tournament, the NIT final, and well, we're going to just spend some time just talking about it and what we might necessarily need to do to beat our matchup. So for those of you who haven't watched the last episode, hopefully you'll have seen that we in the schedule here that we've obviously managed to hope to get to the final against Kansas in the NIT Invitational. We beat the likes of Wichita State, and Loyola, and I believe Nevada and Las Vegas as well to get here. To go up against a premier blue blood team in Kansas, who have basically trounced everyone they've played at this point, and beating Iona pretty comfortably, Alabama, Birmingham comfortably, and then beating Oregon as well. So they've beat some pretty good opposition to get here. And well, we have a really tough matchup against us in terms of Kansas, because if you look here at the next opponent win percentage the game has given us, we only have a 14% chance of beating Kansas, and pretty understandable really, because Kansas are an elite team. We'll try and break down why they are such an elite team, a team that probably will be in contention of the national title this year, if I'm perfectly honest, whereas I don't necessarily think we will be. I think hopefully we'll get to March Madness and we'll be in the tournament, but I think we'll see what happens from there. So in terms of the report, let's take a little look and see what our scout has got against us, which is awesome actually. I have to say, one of the things I do like about this game is that you do get these really nice breakdown of reports that you don't get in the pro game, because you have an actual assigned coach to scouting. And you can see here, it kind of breaks down the lineups, breaks down the team stats, and gives us the idea of the offensive style as well. So we are up against the number 2 ranked team in the nation, Kansas, in this NIT final. And well, on paper it looks pretty terrible for us, to be honest. I mean, they've got. We'll probably go and have a little look at the actual roster of Kansas before we talk about some of these stats here. But I just wanted to show you really how this looks. So let's go to the roster of Kansas and just talk through it. Yeah, so you can see here instantly, just looking by star rating, they have a lot more talent than this Michigan team. Our Michigan team does have. They have Kerwin Willie, who is basically a phenomenal point guard. He has the ball magician, the playmaker, defender, and the bucket getter player types, because he's just phenomenal, to be honest. He has an amazing outside shot. His passing handling is great. That handling at college level, to me, seems like that's pretty much borderline elite. He can rebound really, really well for a 6'3" guard. Defensive ability is insane. He's got everything. The only thing I would say about him, I'd want more if I was a pro team looking at him, is court IQ. I'd want that to be like in the 70s for him. If he had that in the 70s, to be perfectly honest with you, he could be a top 10 pick in the pro draft. But he is a senior, so he's a very experienced player, and it's no surprise that he's just a phenomenal point guard. We just simply don't have anyone like that. Likewise, they've got another senior, Shannon Smith, who is a really, really good outside scoring, bucket getter, shooting guard. He's a bit undersized, but he's a okay defender, phenomenal blocker and stealer of the ball as well, and good discipline. So he's not going to get into foul trouble. He's a really good player, and I'm surprised he's only playing 13 minutes, to be perfectly honest with you. If it was me, I'd be playing him a lot more, and really playing him in the backcourt. So I'm guessing the likes of Jimmy Levette is that their main shooting guard option, and you can probably understand why. He's probably a slightly better all-round player than the likes of Smith, as you can probably see flicking through the stats. But my goodness me, I'll try and put them all on the court. He's 6'3", so he's slightly bigger. He's a great defender, as you can see here by the defender mark and his stats. Another bucket getter, good passing ability, good scoring ability. He's putting up amazingly good numbers at this moment in time. In terms of the sort of small forward position, they don't have a great deal of sort of ready now talent. They have Keith Dixon, who looks like a great prospect. He is a 5-star prospect guy they've got, who they are giving some minutes to, it looks like. Yeah, he's not starting, but he is getting some minutes. So who is starting for them in the small forward position? So it looks like, no, not Dixon. I'm guessing it's Trent. No, Trent's in there. Who's starting for them here? unless they're playing. Yeah, okay, they're playing slightly bigger. They're playing Coleman in probably, I'm guessing, at one of the forward positions, and then the likes of where is he? Go to their depth and have a look. So they're playing Trent in there. Okay, so they are playing a 4-star prospect in there, who I believe is a power forward. So they're playing slightly lopsided in terms of that. Yeah, okay, I can understand why he's playing there. His handling's okay, it's passable. Defensive ability is awful, but he looks like an okay starter. I mean, the defense is a worry, but he kind of brings a bit of everything else. But in terms of the front court, they've got Joe Coleman, who looks like a good starter. He's not the star player of this team, certainly. That discipline's a bit of a worry. And they've got Chris Williams, who looks like a really, really good centre. Great rebounding ability, shot blocking, stealing ability is good. He lives inside the paint, basically. Paint dominator, clean up, and defender. So on paper, that Kansas team is far, far better than we are. And it's no surprise that the scouting report kind of reflects that. Let's have a little look at that again. Right, in terms of scouting report, you can obviously see here that it's no surprise that Willie is got the advantage over Iacona. I mean, but we're playing a guy out of position there who's not got the same sort of handling ability as Willie. So that to me is the immediate worry for us. We don't have anyone we can necessarily put up against him to kind of negate his ability. And then Levitt against Beak, I think, is actually a really, really fun matchup. I mean, Levitt has the height advantage over him. But, you know, that's a senior against a junior. Who knows? Maybe Beak can come out on top there. Trent versus Orsler. That's interesting because I would have said that Trent has the advantage over Orsler based on what we've seen so far from Scotty Orsler. That to me looks like it's an indication of going on star power rather than actually looking at his stats. Because you can see here Trent is putting up much better numbers currently than Orsler really across the board. And then Coleman against Belair, that's a pretty even matchup, and I think that's fair. Neither of them are really the star player of the team. They're just there to kind of do their job, get the odd point, do a bit of garbage work, put some blocks, rebounds up, etc. And then Williams against Sweetwine is going to be a really good matchup. Both very similar in size, both very similar in kind of capability, to be honest with you. Williams is probably a slightly more nigglier defender than Sweetwine, whereas Sweetwine's probably a slightly better, you know, offensive weapon in terms of his passing ability. That's going to be a real good matchup. And then the bench, I would say, is probably pretty split, to be honest with you. You can see here our rebounding numbers on the bench are much better than theirs, but and points, but you know it's similar. So overall, I think probably Kansas just on star power, just on roster, have the advantage. We will certainly need someone like Scotty Orsler kind of come out of the light and actually perform like a 5-star prospect that he is, and probably Beak to get the matchup against Levitt, and it's Sweetwine to beat Williams. If we can get those three guys to kind of really dominate, or even two of them and maybe someone else to come out into the woodwork, we might have a chance, but it's a very slim chance if I'm perfectly honest with you. So yeah, you can see here in terms of their best player, it's Levitt. I mean, that's not surprising. I would probably say Kerwine Willie is actually probably their best player in terms of at college now, but probably the best prospect in terms of development and things is Levitt. In terms of offensive style, they run a normal offensive pace with a lot of offensive freedom. In half court, they support a balanced attack, their primary set being motion. Okay, so they pretty much run a basic, standard, college-style offense. There's not anything massively different there. They press the points throughout the game, not surprising because they've got Willie and Levitt who are great at stealing the ball, and Trent as well, to be honest with you. In half court, they play man-to-man. For pressure defense, they go 2-2-1 and full court press. So they do press sometimes, but they primarily play man. So they're pretty much, in terms of offensive and defensive strategy, are pretty generic. So that's interesting. That's an interesting observation. And you can see here in terms of the numbers, we're pretty similar actually across the board at this stage. Their assists are slightly better, but probably because they've actually got a proper point guard and we don't have one. Slightly better in sort of in terms of turnovers. So probably, I mean, it's going to be really close. I think it'll be a close game unless the likes of Willie can take over, get Iacona into foul trouble, and then we're going to have some serious issues. So where do I think we can really sort of make gains in this when I'm looking at it? So I talked a little bit about the roster construction. In terms of their play style, obviously they are running pretty much motion. So we can maybe force them into a slightly different style of offense if they have a lot of freedom. So we can maybe possibly force them into a type of offense that will go against this. That will force some of their players to put up difficult shots. We can certainly look at that. For me though, I think our primary issue is going to be that we're probably not going to be that good on offense against this team because they are a pretty good defensive unit as well. Yeah, it's gonna be so tough this game. I think for me, the things I've got to consider, and I won't go into details to what I'm exactly going to do because obviously this is going to come out before the game because I want to get it out there and get the invitational tournaments hyped, and it's great that Michigan have managed to get to a final of one. For me, things I've got to consider is, do we basically, if we go to the opponent dashboard and quickly look at the roster construction again. So you've got the likes of Levet in there. So he's a great defender. Do we really want Beak up against him? It would be my question. I'm guessing he'll go up against Levet and Smith, considering that's their backcourt. Or do we really want him going up against someone like Trent in sort of the small forward position? Granted, he'll be undersized against him on defense, but that defensive ability, we might be able to make that pay for us. That's something we're going to have to consider. Likewise, the likes of Coleman and Williams. Do we want to play around with our front court a little bit and just see if we can get a couple of mismatches there to kind of take advantage of that? In terms of the other bits on the back court, I don't think we're going to get anything in terms of. I think Willie will win that battle. I don't think there's anything we can do there to really stop Iacona from having difficulty there or put someone else in that position. But the other advantage we might have is if we move Orza around, because we know Orza is a really good pesky defensive player. He's a good stealer, he's a good defender, he has the defender tag. He might be better if we want to maybe test putting him up against some of the better offensive players and see how that goes, because if it doesn't work in this game as well, it's something else we'll know going into sort of the tournament in March if we get there, and into sort of the Big Ten regular season games, in terms of, can we just throw Orza as a defensive nightmare against people? Because he's 6'4", so he can pretty much guard anyone from point guard down. So it's something for us to consider there. Obviously, Belair's is a pretty good defender, but likewise, there is some rotation flexibility there. Is what I think we can consider. In terms of disrupting this team, there's not a lot else we can necessarily do apart from maybe playing with some of the matchups and just seeing if we can get a couple of more favourable chances than we might have if we go with this straightforward lineup. So we'll certainly play around with that because we've got nothing to lose. It's a final in an invitational, and it's a great opportunity to test ourselves against one of the better teams in the CBGM. But the odds are against us, as I said. We have currently a 14% chance of winning this. We will certainly see how we get on. I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think we have a chance against the likes of Kansas, or is it a case of Kansas are going to wipe the floor with us? They've pretty much dominated everyone else in this NIT tournament to get here. We've kind of scraped through, to be perfectly honest with you. We've won a couple of really close games against some good opposition. The odds are against us, but we'll see. We'll see how these matchups go and whether we can get anything more favourable than we have at the minute. And we'll come back next time and see. But it's great to test ourselves against someone like Kansas early on. I'm really hyped and really excited to see how that goes, because as I said, I think Kansas are going to be one of the premier teams in this CBGM first season. They are ranked number 2 at the moment. They look really good on paper. They've got depth. I'm really looking forward to this matchup. Feel free to let me know. Do you think Michigan have a chance? Kansas going to wipe the floor? Who knows? We'll come back next time. We'll review it. We'll break it down a little bit. I'll talk you through what are some of the strategy attempts that I did make, whether they worked or didn't work, and we'll use that as insights going into the rest of our games for the season.